Let me call to order this meeting of the West Palm Beach City Commission. It is Monday, May 13th, 2024, and the time is 5 p.m. We will start this meeting off, as we do all of our meetings, with a moment of silence, please. Madam President, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay. Let me read out the rules of civility and decorum which govern this meeting. Officials shall be recognized by the chair and shall not interrupt a speaker. Public comment shall be addressed to the City Commission as a whole and not to any individual in the dais or in the audience. Displays of anger, rudeness, ridicule, impatience, lack of respect, and personal attacks are strictly prohibited. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, and similar demonstrations shall not be permitted. Please govern yourselves accordingly, as offenders may be removed from the meeting. Also, anyone desiring to address the commission shall complete a comment card for each agenda item the person wishes to address, and that card shall include the person's full name and address and the numbered agenda item. And if the card is not properly completed, the person will not be recognized. All right, Madam City Administrator, are there any additions, deletions, reorganization of the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We are requesting that item 7.1 on the consent calendar be removed from consent for separate board action.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Duly noted. We do have a couple of proclamations. Item 6.1, proclaiming May 2024 is Mental Health Month. Mental health is an essential part of overall well-being, impacting individuals, families, and communities across Florida and beyond. 1 in 5 American adults experience a mental health condition each year, and everyone faces challenges in life that can impact their mental health. Despite its prevalence, mental health remains shrouded in stigma, preventing many from seeking help. Early intervention and access to quality care are crucial for managing mental health conditions and improving quality of life. May is recognized nationally as Mental Health Awareness Month, providing an opportunity to raise awareness, combat stigma, and promote mental health resources. In the city of West Palm Beach, and as the city's mayor, I call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to educate themselves and others about mental health conditions, treatment options, and available resources. Challenge stigma by speaking respectfully and inclusively about mental health. Seek help if you are struggling with their mental health and encourage others to do the same. Support organizations that provide mental health services and advocacy. Create safe and supportive environments for open conversations about mental health. Together, we can create a community where everyone feels empowered to prioritize their mental well-being and seek help when needed. So I, Keith A. James, Mayor of the City of West Palm Beach, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as Mental Health Month. Here tonight to accept this proclamation is Renee Govic, Chief Human Resources Officer, Mike Russell, Talent Development Officer, Chelsea McGee, Cigna On-Site Service Representative, Jewish Family Services Representatives Courtney Marks, Mental Health First Aid Director, and Titania Bastian, Mental Health First Aid Instructor. Come on down. We need to balance this, don't we?
Yeah, like you do this.
Absolutely.
I got to do their job. Is this okay?
It's fine.
Someone want to say a few words?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor James, commissioners, and administration for recognizing the time, intention, investment, and collaboration at all organizational levels are necessary in supporting our employees' mental health and well-being. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It impacts how we handle stress, relate to others, and make healthy or unhealthy choices. Mental health is just as important as physical health. They are equal components in our overall health and well-being. The city has taken positive steps towards the supporting of our employees and their mental health. Most recently, we partnered with Jewish Family Services to offer completely free mental health first aid certification training for all employees. Mental health first aid training equips employees with skills and an action plan to identify and safely and responsibly address potential mental health challenges and those around them. Since our kickoff on March 4th, we have certified over 200 city employees in mental health first aid. Additionally, last month, our city was awarded the Bell Seal of Workplace Mental Health. Recipients, representing a combined workforce of over 3 million workers, are nationally recognized as meeting or exceeding workplace standards for promoting positive mental health. Only 1 in 4 employers meet the standards of the Bell Seal certification. We proudly accept the proclamation, and once again, thank you.
Moving now to item 6.2, proclaiming May 19th through 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week. Public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of West Palm Beach. These infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for providing sanitation removal services and rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. It is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children of West Palm Beach to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. The year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association / Canadian Public Works Association. So I, Keith A. James, Mayor of the City of West Palm Beach, do hereby proclaim May 19th through 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week. Here tonight to accept this proclamation is Leon Pender, Public Works Director, Amy Marks, Administrative Services Manager, Matthew Williams, Fleet Manager, and Jonathan Algaranes, Facilities Manager. Put your hand on this like you accepted it. There you go. Very good. Somebody gonna say a few words?
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, Administration. Thank you all once again for recognizing American Public Works Week for what we do, each and every single day. So, one of the hardest working departments, but, we just do what we need to do each and every single day. So we just want to say thank you all once again for recognizing American Public Works Week. Thank you.
We will now turn to the consent calendar, which is items 7.2 through 7.7. Do we have any cards on consent?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Commissioners, any questions or comments on consent? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of items on consent 7.2 through 7.7.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We will now turn to item 7.1, resolution number 87-24, an agreement among the city, the Community Redevelopment Agency, and 300 Banyan LLC regarding funding and construction of improvements along Banyan Boulevard on the north side to the 300 Banyan Boulevard office project. I understand we have a disclosure.
Mayor, I need to recuse myself from this for a conflict.
Very good. Any questions or comments on this item, 7.1? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 87-24.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously with the exception of Commissioner Baduzzi, who recused himself. Okay, thank you. Item 8.1, resolution number 110-24, approving an agreement with the Bloomberg Philanthropies Youth Climate Action Fund, providing $50,000 to distribute as micro-grants to fund a groundswell of youth-led climate initiatives, and resolution number 111-24F, providing for the receipt and appropriation of $50,000 in grant funding. Mr. Vallejo.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm going to be presenting resolution number 110-24 and resolution number 111-24.
State your name for the record, please.
My name is Tom Vallejo, Chief of Staff to the Mayor. I'll start by just giving a quick overview. I'll give you a background on how we got here, some of the goals and objectives of the Youth Climate Action Fund, some details, and then I will answer any questions that you might have. So Bloomberg Philanthropies is founded by a well-known former mayor of New York City, Mike Bloomberg. It focuses on charitable givings in 5 different categories: public health, the arts, government innovation, and education. In 2023, Bloomberg Philanthropies engaged local governments by inviting mayors to go to a United Nations conference. The United Nations hosts a conference called the Conference of Parties, or COP. They've been hosting this since 1995. Hence, in 2023, they held COP 28. Bloomberg Philanthropies believes that resiliency and sustainability ideas related to climate change should come from a grassroots level, hence why they invited local policymakers to go to Dubai for COP 28. Mayor James represented the city of West Palm Beach at COP 28. At COP 28, Bloomberg Philanthropies announced the Youth Climate Action Fund. The Youth Climate Action Fund is supported by Bloomberg Philanthropies through partnerships with the United Cities and local governments and the Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation at Johns Hopkins University. The inception for the Youth Climate Action Fund was a health survey that took place. It surveyed 10,000 young people between the ages of 15 to 25 years old, and it noticed that 84% of them identified climate change as one of the major threats to people and the planet. So these partnerships came together. They formed the Youth Climate Action Fund to fund cities and municipalities with the tools, techniques, supports, the things they needed to combat climate change. Being that this is the first year the Youth Climate Action Fund has been in existence, only 100 cities from across the world were selected. West Palm Beach was one of those cities. And to put that in perspective, the cities selected span 38 countries across 6 different continents. That represents roughly 62 million residents. Some details on the Youth Climate Action Fund. What happens now that we've been selected? Each city that's been selected is going to get $50,000 to distribute as microgrants. These microgrants are going to range from $1,000 to $5,000. Eligibility for the micro grants are you have to be between the ages of 15 to 24 years old. You have to be represented by a you have to represent a youth-led climate initiative that meets the local needs and objectives of West Palm Beach. And those local needs and objectives can be found in our West Palm Beach Sustainability Action Plan. That's the cover page for you. Give you a quick timeline of what we do from here. So right now, we are in the month of May. And in May, we are supposed to announce the proposal process. That is what we are doing here today. The next step takes place between June and July. Throughout June and July, we'll receive and we'll select microgrant proposals to fund. August and September, we'll disperse those microgrants, and the grantees will begin implementing their projects. And then we have to have all the funds distributed by September 30th. That's when round one ends. If we distribute all the funds by September 30th, we will qualify for round two of the grant program. Round two would include $100,000. So the way Bloomberg Philanthropies has given us a lot of autonomy on how we're going to select the participants. And so what we have discussed is putting this into two phases. The first phase, which will begin this week, is a video application. We are asking grantees to submit a 90-second video application. Just give us your background, your project idea, your projected budget, show a little bit of creativity, and then those that make it to phase two, they will find the online application where they have to identify their project advisor. These students have to be associated with a school, a 501c3, an LLC, those types of organizations. Give us your project description, a timeline, and a budget. So phase one, we're going to close out the video applications by June 12th. And then to stick with our timeline, we'll close the online applications by July 17th. You'll be able to find the application at wpb.org/green. And I will answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Who will be on the selection committee?
The selection committee is still in formation. Right now, we're going to be using Penelope Redford's team over in the Office of Sustainability. Myself, Sabile Welter has agreed to participate, Charlotte Wright, and that's our preliminary group.
All right. This is a tremendous honor for the city. As you could see, only 100 cities from around the world were selected. So this is very exciting. It will be interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what our young people, the young people in this city, what their ideas are about addressing the climate change issue, sustainability issues. So this is exciting stuff. Questions, comments, President Ward, Commissioner Warren, and then Commissioner.
I want to know, what are we doing for outreach? And just as an aside, we had a great presentation in one of our workshops from one of the FAU professors that we've been working with, and I think he'd be a great addition to the committee just because it's already his background, and he may be able to promote it as well. I'm forgetting his name, but also how are we getting this out to the public?
A lot of our outreach right now has been focused on organizations that already exist, targeting schools, targeting FAU has a great environmental action program that exists. They have a green environment club. So we're targeting our schools, we're targeting Boy Scouts. These are the different types of, we're looking for established groups that are already in place. And a lot of it's also going to be word of mouth. It's going to be sharing the webpage with students that you think have great ideas that they're able to put into action.
Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to hear again about the mayor's trip to Dubai, because I know it was a sacrifice for him to leave us and go and represent the city.
Tremendous sacrifice.
It's a tremendous sacrifice that we all appreciate. Thank you so much. But what I think that we don't really know, or what we haven't really took into perspective, because when you're in the thick of it, you don't realize that there are amazing things that are happening in West Palm Beach on an international level. To be selected to participate in something like this and be one of 100, and I think that that is worth speaking about again, one of 100 cities throughout the world to go and be a part of these conversations and for them to hear from us about the things that we're doing and to care enough to want to come back and invest in our children, I think it really says a lot. So I just really wanted to speak to that. I don't have any questions. I just really wanted to make the comment that, you know, we need to pay attention to everything that's happening, and this is something that's very good. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you. My question was answered, but I also want to applaud this. This is a fantastic initiative. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of it, and I would love to continue to be involved and hear back from when you pick when you have the selection and be able to hear from the students that are selected and see what comes out of it. But other than that, my questions were answered, so thank you.
And one of the things that I learned is that while 50, 75, 80% of the young people may be interested in climate change, sustainability issues, what is undisputed is that 100% of them will be affected by this phenomenon. So this is the planet that they will be inheriting, and so it's great to have an initiative where we can hear from them. This is a city that they will be inheriting, so it's great that we will have a chance to hear from them as to initiatives that will affect this issue in our city. Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you. I also wanted to comment on just how striking it is that we were selected, one of 100 cities, and just that West Palm Beach is, getting attention on an international scale, and what we're doing here is really making an impact. So thank you all for your efforts on this.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of resolution number 110-24 and resolution number 111-24F.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And thank you, Tom, for that presentation. Item 8.2, resolution number 112-24, authorizing installation of a state of Florida historical marker at 501 21st Street at the Pleasant City Community Center, designating Pleasant City as historical.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners. I am Benjamin Slaughter. I'm the City Historic Preservation Planner. This is my first time in front of you all, so I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you. The Pleasant City Family Reunion Committee is requesting that a historic marker funded by the Florida Historical Marker Program be installed at District 1 Kathleen Ward's city-owned property, Pleasant City Community Center at 501 21st Street. Section 66-13 requires City Commission approval of above-ground design features. Historically fully supports this marker and to be added to our built environment. That's the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments? Okay, we do have a few cards. First item is a speaker who does not want to speak, William Holland, but he does support this item. Okay, we have some cards from those who do want to speak. I'll read your name out if you could begin approaching the podium. Jeremy Johnson, Francis Clark, and Michael Cleveland. Mr. Johnson.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, distinguished commissioners. I'm Jeremy Johnson. I have the privilege of serving as the president and CEO of the Historical Society of Palm Beach County, and I'm here tonight to speak in favor of this historic marker being placed in Pleasant City. I had the pleasure of knowing Every Jimerson Clark for a number of years, and over the years we appreciated all of the things that she did to pull together the rich history and heritage of this area of our city. So much so that in 2012, the Historical Society of Palm Beach County bestowed on Mrs. Clark one of the highest honors that we do put out into the community, which is the Fannie James Award for Preserving Pioneering History. I have the pleasure of being here tonight with her daughter, Frances, and also her longtime volunteer, Esther. So I just want you to know how important I think this is for our community and for our community's history and heritage. So I strongly encourage you to support this historic marker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Francis Clark.
I am Frances Clark. I'm here representing the Pleasant City Family Reunion Committee and Heritage Gallery. As he mentioned, my mother championed this effort. She passed away 2 years ago at the age of 95. She gave her life preserving the history of Pleasant City. A lot of people want to know why. That was my question growing up, why? Because people don't seem to care. And she would gather us around and tell the story of how, as a child, her father was a preacher in Pleasant City. Excuse me. He would take her with him when he would go to visit the sick, the shut-in, and the elderly. And they would sit her down and tell her the story about how we came to reside in this, it seemed like a private community. It was such a joy to live there. And they told her the story of how immigrants came with Henry Flagler to build the Florida East Coast Railroad, which we still have today. And they built the Royal Poinciana Hotel, the Breakers Hotel, several mansions and museums, and so on. After 20 years of encampment, conditions were rather poor. This was in the 1800s. There was no electricity, no running water, no fire department, and so on. The migrant workers lived in this little camp named the Sticks. After everything was built and Palm Beach had the beginnings of what we know today, the workers were no longer needed in this area visible to his elite clientele, his hotel visitors. So they were displaced. After 20 years of working there, they were displaced. They had nowhere to go. West Palm Beach wasn't even here. Nowhere to go. A friend of Flagler's, George Curry, who was an investor in land development, bought this section of town, platted it, and sold it to the migrant workers who had money. They'd been working for 20 years, and they had no place to live. So they did whatever they could to establish this community and bring over across the bridge the semblance of what they had there. They had a few churches, a few schools, and things that you can imagine back in that day, the 1800s, wasn't much to speak of. And during that time, they all came over to Pleasant City. There were a few that ventured into different parts. Is my time up?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's why we got to talk. Okay, thank you. That was good to hear that history. Michael Cleveland.
Good evening, staff, commissioners, mayor. Michael Cleveland, West Palm, and Pleasant City. We all have our own version of what happened and occurred in the Sticks. I won't go that way this evening. I do have my own rendition. I'm here to ask that I'm not understanding exactly what is a marker. In working with Mrs. Clark, I do know we signed petitions for Pleasant City community to become a historical district, not just a marker. The entire community. So I'm not sure where this marker came up at. And that has always been our plight, to have Pleasant City designated. And once again, your agenda item listed as being a black historical neighborhood in the city, perhaps one time in the county. So that's what I would ask. Also, I would ask the changes of the original boundaries were at 17th Street to 23rd, not 15th Street. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's the end of the cards. Commissioner Warren, and then President Ward, and Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you all for ensuring that we never forget the significance of Pleasant City to the city of West Palm Beach. It certainly holds its rightful place and the memory should not be lost. And I'd like to say that one of the first successful campaigns capital campaigns to improve a part of West Palm Beach was actually done in Pleasant City to improve Pleasant City. By the then, she was not the commissioner at that time, but she went on to become commissioner representing District 1. So I don't have very much to say other than to say that I know how important Pleasant City is, and thank you all for ensuring that we all make sure that we remember the value and significance.
President Ward.
Thank you. I know I've spoken with Ms. Clark before, and she's told me about all the history that she shares now and holds on to that her mom collected, and I hope that one day we can have it shown to other people in the area, because I know how important it is. And I know we've talked before about the Historic Northwest and the work that we did in historic preservation, and I really hope that it continues through Coleman Park and Pleasant City, because there's so much history, even, Chachi's historic marker in Sunset, and now we have this historic marker. And so it's people like you that help us preserve that history and remember how important it was, so that we can continue and keep people in these neighborhoods. So thank you very much for coming here, and I'm fully supportive of this.
Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on the juxtaposition of these two items that we just passed, and this one that we're considering. That the last one was about our future, about children and climate change, or young adults, and that this is about preserving our history and how important it is for us to consider both aspects in guiding and leading our city. So thank you so much, and I'm proud to support this item.
Well, I'm happy that we are a city that does still recognize history, particularly history of those who are less fortunate than others. Any other? Yeah, Commissioner Peduzzi.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say that to Ms. Clark, I have that book on Pleasant City that I believe your mom was instrumental in writing, where she actually authored it. That's a historical perspective of Pleasant City. And the pictures in it, I've read it cover to cover, and I just find it fascinating. The pictures in it are just unbelievable and incredible that someone took the time to document the importance of Pleasant City to our city as a whole. And I just wanted to thank you and your mom for that, and I'm happy to support this motion.
Okay, any other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of resolution number 112-24.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 8.3, resolution number 116-24, authorizing the submittal of an application to the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Railroad Administration under the fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24 Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements, CRISI program, for the West Palm Beach Rail SAFE, or Safety and Functionality for Everyone project, in the amount of $14,450,000, and resolution number 118-24, authorizing the submittal of an application to U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration fiscal year 2023, fiscal year 2024, the fiscal year 2023 Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program, or ATIP, for the West Palm Beach Rail SAFE project for the amount of $11,184,932. Mr. Volbrecht.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Kevin Volbrecht, City Engineer for in the Engineering Services Department. This is going to be a presentation to describe the fact that we're actually going after some of the most recent grant opportunities to help us fund the Fern Street Crossing project. The first one, the resolution, is to get the authorization to apply for the CRISI grant, and the other resolution is to apply for the ATIIP grant. Both of those are going to be coming up in the next few weeks. So the Fern Street Crossing itself is on the Palm Beach TPA's long-range transportation plan. We are looking to do this in a 5-year program. As a priority project with on the LRTP. We've been working on this project now for several years. We've been very diligent and actively working with FDOT over the last 2 years on this specifically. We brought the stipulation of parties to the commission earlier this year, which was sent to FDOT and SFRTA for them to review and execute that document for us. That's still in process. Basically, it covers, there's 2.5 crossings that we are going to be closing in the city. One of them at 25th Court, one of them at Division Avenue, and half of the crossing at Old Okeechobee Boulevard, as well as the new crossing at Fern Street itself. We have looked at our funding strategy for this project, realizing that it's going to be quite expensive. It's an overall project cost of about $42.3 million. We currently, this year, we have $3.3 million funded, of which some of that is assigned for design work on the Fern Street extension, as well as $3 million for the some right-of-way acquisition that we need to take care of at the southeast corner of Fern Street and Tamarind. We're looking for grant opportunities or whatever funding sources we can find to help fund this deficit that we have. And in these two current resolutions, we're looking for a total of about $25.6 million in the two CRISI and ATIIP grants. The CRISI grant is a $14.5 million ask, and the ATIIP is $11.2 million ask. You can see that we have a shortfall, even if we got those two grants, of about $13.3 million. We will continue to work on getting funding for that through CRA, capital budgets, other grants, whatever means possible. We're going to definitely make a very concerted effort to be able to do that. So I ask that you please approve these two resolutions so that we can submit for these grants.
Very good. Thank you for that presentation. Any comments, questions, commissioners? Commissioner Fox?
Thank you so much, Kevin. I just want to say thank you for bringing this to us and for diligently continuing to look for funding. This is going to be an important crossing that is going to be helping with the traffic downtown, and it is much needed, and I'm just looking forward to finally moving forward with this. So thank you so much for helping to find funding, and my fingers are crossed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 116-24 and resolution number 118-24.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 8.4, resolution number 117-24, establishing the goal of 0 fatalities in the West Palm Beach rail environment and at all rail crossings, and adopting rail safety and functionality for everyone as the policy for rail safety for the city of West Palm Beach. Mr. Valbrecht.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor. The continuation of the previous discussion. The safety and functionality for everyone policy is something that the city wants to pursue. We are very pioneering in this whole effort. There's no other cities, communities in Florida, or possibly even the United States that even are adopting such a policy. We're being very, very proactive as far as looking what we can do for rail safety. We've been really much more concerted efforts on this over the last 2 years. We did a mayor commission workshop back in March where we talked about rail safety overall, all the things we're doing with the rail crossings, with quiet zones and trying to improve infrastructure, as well as with the Fern Street crossing itself. You can see the statistics over the last 5 years. Just in Palm Beach County alone, there's been 35 total incidents, of which 37% of those have been in West Palm Beach. You can see that there's been 4 of those on the FEC railroad tracks and 9 of those on the SFRC tracks. Unfortunately, 8 of those occurrences, those incidents, resulted in fatalities. We want to really do whatever we can to try to promote safety on the rail crossings in the city of West Palm Beach. We want to continue to do that, not with any end goal in mind, but to eliminate, to make sure that we have 0 fatalities on the railroad crossings that are in the city of West Palm Beach. And we don't want to stop until we ever achieve that. And that's a continuing effort that's going to always need to be made. So we've done plenty of public outreach on this thing, as you can see. The Rail Safe program itself, basically what we're doing is we're taking all of the efforts that we've been making over the last few years, and we're formally codifying these, the safety policy for pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists as it relates to rail safety. And we will utilize the principles of our safe systems, which is engineering, education, and enforcement measures, as well as community planning. The adoption of this rail safe policy, I think, is going to make a tremendous leap in the education aspect of those three principles, because it's going to broadcast to the public. I think it's going to bring notoriety to the city of West Palm Beach that we are really very, very proactive, very serious, that we don't want to have 9 incidents. We don't want to have 8 fatalities. We want to have 0, 0, 0. And that's what this is about. So I ask that you please approve this resolution to adopt this rail safe policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. Any questions, Commissioner Peduzzi? Commissioner Fox?
Thank you for bringing this to us today. I think I had previously stated in a workshop that I serve as well as with Commissioner Fox on the Transportation Planning Agency, and rail safety was brought up on numerous occasions, and I spoke on one of those occasions about the fatalities that we had, and it was right after a high-profile fatality that happened in our downtown area. And we had a lengthy discussion about it, and what I wanted to get across to our constituents and to our residents is you got to do whatever you can to get off of those tracks. You know, if you find yourself in that situation, and some of our intersections are a little crazy downtown, and it's easy to find yourself in that situation, but you got to get off of the tracks. And one of the engineers with one of the agencies said it's those gates, if you find yourself in there, don't worry about taking a gate down. The gates are $1 pin. If you hit a gate, it drops, and it's literally $1 pin to replace it. So they said if you find yourself in between those gates, go ahead and just knock it down if you have to get out of there. You got to get off of the tracks. But I just thought it was worth saying again, and thank you for bringing this to us today.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you so much, Kevin, and to Wen. I see her out here too. Thank you so much for making sure to prioritize safety. And I think I heard you say that this will be the first in the country to have an initiative like this. And
yes, we believe we are the first ones to be doing something like this officially.
That is really incredible. I think another example of how we are leading the country in something like this, that we will be the model. And I know that when we introduced Vision Zero many years ago, I think within the first year, there was a 20% decline in pedestrian deaths, and hopefully we can also have that kind of data going forward to be able to lead by example, not just in the country, but also in the county. And I will be happy to bring this to the TPA and hope that we can have some of our fellow municipalities join in so that we are keeping just our whole traveling public safe, and that we can all share in any kind of examples that we have, data that we come up with, and just make sure that we are leading the way. So I continue to thank you for the innovation and look forward to supporting this. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of resolution number 117-24.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all right. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll now go on to item 9.1, public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 5095-24, relating to the change of boundaries of the City Place Community Development District. The above referenced requests are being made by the Board of Supervisors of City Place Community Development District. The district is approximately 25 acres and is located within the City Place Commercial Plan Development.
Mayor Commissioners, Angela Van, Planning and Zone Administrator. There has been one slight change since first reading. We had to do some revisions to the legal description, so minor changes. Other than that, there was no changes to the item.
Okay, very good. Any questions or comments, Commissioners? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 5095-24.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5095-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, relating to the change of boundaries of City Place CDD, changing the boundaries of the district, describing the revised boundaries of the district, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.2, public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 5098-24, amending and restating the Code of Ordinances of the City of West Palm Beach at Chapter 58, Parks and Recreational Facilities, and amending Chapter 78, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places, Article 16, Public Places, in Sections 78-466 and 78-467. Ms. Rockwell.
Good evening, Leah Rockwell, Director of Parks and Recreation. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. There have been no changes since the first reading. However, I just want to make a clarification. The park hours that are stated in the code have not changed from our previous code. Our hours are still sunrise to sunset or dusk to dawn. And if there are lighted facilities in our parks, like basketball courts or tennis courts, those facilities still remain open till 9 or 10 o'clock, depending on the neighborhood in which they sit. So nothing has changed from last reading.
And there is signage at each park indicating what the hours are,
Yes,
specifically
sir.
for that park. Okay. Any questions, comments, Commissioners? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 5098-24 on second reading.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5098-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, at Chapter 26, Article 3, Citation Procedure, Section 26-66, to add Chapter 58, Article 3 to the list of chapters enforceable by citation, amending Chapter 58, Parks and Recreational Facilities, Article 3, Conduct in Parks and Recreation Facilities, by amending, restating, and adding Sections 58-81 through 58-91, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida at Chapter 78, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places, Article 16, Public Places, by amending Section 78-466 and 78-467, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.3, public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 5100-24, authorizing the execution of a lease agreement between the City of West Palm Beach and the Boys and Girls Clubs of Palm Beach County, Inc., for the Florence de Georges Boys and Girls Club located at 4105 Pinewood Avenue. Ms. Rockwell?
Mayor.
Yes. Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you. I just need to recuse myself due to a voting conflict on this item.
Duly noted. Thank you. Ms. Rockwell?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Leah Rockwell, Director of Parks and Recreation. There have been no changes since the first reading of this ordinance.
Very good. Any questions, comments? Commissioners? Commissioner Ward?
Yes, and this is actually For representative of the Boys and Girls Club, if they're here, I wanted to know, given that it's going to be a long lease term, if there are any plans on like, what funds are being allocated to maintain and enhance the existing club.
The project, as we said.
Could you state your name for the record,
I'm sorry.
please?
Mary O'Connor, I'm the Vice President of Philanthropy for Boys and Girls Club, representing Jeannie Miranda, who's unfortunately in, or not, Atlanta, so she couldn't be here tonight. But anyway, the entire project, we have put a fundraising goal of $25 million. We have raised all of the dollars so far for the construction, and we've already raised $10 million towards endowing the facility so that we have funding moving forward, along with the funding for the first 2 years of operation, so that we have the time to start to develop the kinds of grants that we need, like we have at all of other locations.
I
follow
meant
up,
for the one that we're on here, the Florence to George one.
Well, that's already funded. It's been, we've had the funding from multiple different organizations, plus it has a small endowment as well. So it's fully funded.
Okay, so you have the funds to maintain and maybe enhance. I'm just looking at it from a perspective of you're going to have a brand-new facility in the south end, and we have an existing facility that has some wear and tear in it. And so I just wanted to know are there any plans to make sure that that's as equally as operable and aesthetically pleasing and has all of the programming that's going to be going
Well,
on in the south end?
we take pride in all of our buildings, and so we will do everything we need to make sure that this building, the Florence to George building, along with the new building, are maintained. Actually, we were just fortunate that we received, and I'll just give you a little brief list of some of the things that we are doing right now in terms of the DeGeorge Club. In preparation for the lease, we did some things already. So we've repaired the roof, we repainted some of the front, we did a power wash of the building, and we just received well over $200,000 from a donor to do some of the necessary repairs that we want inside, including the roof repair was $31,000. There's some window repair that's $27,000. We're doing all of the bathrooms at about $100,000. We're redoing the gymnasium floor at $16,000. And we're putting in two 4-ton air conditioners at a cost of $25,000. So we are constantly raising money to take care of these buildings, and because we think the kids deserve the best that we can provide.
You came prepared. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments on this item? We do have one card. It's from Ms. O'Connor. She did not wish to speak, but she's saying what she just said. I'm here representing Boys and Girls Clubs as Jeannie Miranda's in Atlanta, in case you have any questions. So there's consistency there. Okay, if there are no other cards, no other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 5100-24.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5100-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, continuing to find the property at 4105 Pinewood Avenue, not needed for city purposes, approving a lease agreement between the City of West Palm Beach and the Boys and Girls Club of Palm Beach County, Inc., for the Florence to George's Boys and Girls Club located at 4105 Pinewood Avenue, authorizing expansion of the lease area, approving execution of the lease and all documents necessary to effectuate these purposes, providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously with the exception of Commissioner Lambert, who recused herself. Item 9.4. Public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 5099-24, approving a ground lease for a portion of Dreher Park with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Palm Beach County, Inc., for a new club to be constructed in Dreher Park, approving the concept plan and granting a license for entry. Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor. I need to recuse myself from this item due to a voting conflict. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rockwell.
Good evening again. Leah Rockwell, Director of Parks and Recreation. So after the first reading, there were some questions that you posed to the Boys and Girls Club regarding their ground lease. And that significant changes from the first reading had to do with small business and MWBE participation. So we went back to the Boys and Girls Club, and they have agreed to contractors will be required to use no less than 18%. Contractors and subcontractors from small businesses, minority women-owned businesses certified by the City of West Palm Beach. The second thing that was brought to our attention that we wanted to enhance was local workforce. And they agreed, the Boys and Girls Club, that contractors will be required to conduct 2 job fairs within the city and to use their best good faith efforts to have local workforce participation of 8% of the value of the club facility construction work. So we went from 5 to 8 with 2 job fairs to enhance or to hopefully entice local workers. And those are the 2 changes from the reading from the previous commission meeting, but the Boys and Girls Club did want us to make sure that you understood that it's not a 25,000 square foot building. It is a 31,901 square foot building, which they wanted that corrected on the record. And that ends our second reading of this item.
Good, thank you very much. Any questions, comments? Commissioner Warren.
Hi, Leah. I believe that there was additional language about hiring locally and hiring contractors that were in the local area that would hire employees.
So, yeah, okay, sure.
Okay. Nancy Yurchek, Deputy City Attorney. In addition, to help with the local workforce requirement, what the Boys and Girls Club has agreed to do is that they're going to hire a construction manager. In their criteria, they're going to prefer somebody who's based in West Palm Beach, and who will also, with the point then of them, since they will hold their job fairs here and be a local construction manager, they are much more likely to hire than workforce from here. So although the Boys and Girls Club is hesitant to legally commit to a participation of more than 8%, they're going to do everything in their power with the hopes that they will far exceed that number with a local construction manager. So that was the third piece of the changes.
Any follow-up?
Thank you, and I just specifically want to say thank you, Nancy Yurchek, for working to help move this language forward, as well as to Ms. Miranda and to the board chair from the Boys and Girls Club, because I know that there were a lot of conversations that were had, meetings where this was discussed, and I say this, and I think it's important, because when we look at the communities that the Boys and Girls Club serves, I know that it's very important that we do everything that we can to create jobs in this area. And when we as a city have the opportunity to positively impact that, I applaud that we're taking these steps. I think that it's progress. I'm looking forward to stronger language and higher requirements as we move forward. But I believe that this is a great step in the right direction, because I know that in order for this to actually happen, we have to be intentional, and we have to ensure that the language is there so that there's no misinterpretation. So I just want to thank you for going back and reviewing this and making these steps forward.
Ms. Yurchek, did you have something else? Or you look like you were about to say something?
I was just going to add another point that, in addition, the construction manager would have one of their preference criteria, somebody who is experienced in providing apprenticeships and other internships for the local workforce. So that is another part of their program for the local construction manager.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments on this item? We do have a card again from Ms. Connor saying she's here representing Jeannie in case we have any questions. So doesn't look like we have any questions. So if there are no further questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, move approval of ordinance number 5099-24 at second reading.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5099-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, approving a ground lease agreement between the City of West Palm Beach and the Boys and Girls Club of Palm Beach County, Inc. For the location of a club in Dreher Park, authorizing execution of a lease and all documents necessary to effectuate these purposes, approving a concept plan, granting a license for entry, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.5, resolution number 101-24, amending the city's salary plan for fiscal year 2023-2024 by adding various job classifications and updating the pay grade and/or salary range for certain job classifications. Resolution number 105-24F, amending the full-time equivalent budget FTE for certain departments and for certain funds for fiscal year 2023-2024, and public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 5102-24, modifying the annual salary for the mayor and city commissioners pursuant to section 2.02 of the city charter. Before we go into the discussion on this, let the record reflect that Commissioner Lambert had recused herself from the last vote. I mistakenly said it was unanimous. She did recuse herself. Okay. Who's going first on this?
I am, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, staff, members of the public. For the record, Faye W. Johnson, City Administrator for the City of West Palm Beach. I will be taking the lead on this presentation and will be joined by Assistant City Administrator Jose Luis Rodriguez. Mayor, as you articulated, item 9.5 includes 3 components for the board's consideration of approval. All 3 items are cost neutral and there is no adverse budget impact. By way of background, I want to put this into context. Back in fiscal year 2022, administration developed a mid-fiscal year process for modification of the city's salary plan and its annual budget. The purpose of doing so was to allow departments to stay on top of changing operational needs to ensure the continuation of efficient delivery of city services. As a requirement, it is mandated that departments' requests be cost neutral and absorbed within their annual budgets. In compliance with the established process that was put in place and in alignment with the 8th pillar of the city's updated strategic plan, financial sustainability, and organization excellence, the proposed cost-neutral fiscal year 2024 mid-fiscal year budget and personnel amendment is hereby presented to the board for its consideration of approval. In addition, it includes a proposal to adjust the current salaries of the city's elected official, which is also cost-neutral. Resolutions 101-24 and Resolution 105-24F are companion items related to housekeeping and ministerial functions. I'm going to ask Assistant City Administrator Rodriguez to present the 2 resolutions to the board, and I will present the last item, which is Ordinance 5102. Mr. Rodriguez.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Jose Luis Rodriguez, Assistant City Administrator for the record. As City Administrator Johnson mentioned, this follows our established procedure of bringing a mid-fiscal year item to the board to consider any type of personal actions that need to be taken in order for departments to continue their efficient operations. Re-stressing the point, these changes, proposed changes, are cost neutral. Any costs associated with these changes will be absorbed from operational reductions, elimination of vacant positions, and any pay grade updates that you see in the proposal do not mean that there are any changes to employee salaries. It's just simply updating the pay ranges for those positions to make them more competitive with the market in terms of minimum starting salaries and salary ranges. Resolution 101-24, which is the salary plan resolution, will update the salary plan to update the pay grades, to update job titles or revise job titles in the city's salary plan. And Resolution 105-24F is a financial resolution that makes those changes in the budget so that whatever we do on the operational side of the house and HR matches the budget, and also if there's any positions that are being reallocated to a different job title or a different position, then that is also taken care of by Resolution 105-24F. Now, among the changes that are being proposed are 9 pay grade updates. You can see them there. They're in more detail. And again, these are based on input from the departments that they felt HR should look at these pay ranges and make recommendations on those. So those are the 9 pay grade updates. There will be 8 revisions to job titles, either new job titles being created, which you see there, or existing job titles that are being slightly revised. There's also going to be 13 position reallocations, and what this means is that you are going to get an existing position and reallocate it to a different job title in order to perform the functions that the department actually needs at this time. So that's an example. That's a list of the 13 positions that are going to be reallocated as part of that second F resolution. And then there are 8 positions being added. 4 positions in Parks and Recreation that you see there with the brackets highlighted. 1 position in Fire, a division chief in Fire that is going to be funded from the Fire Assessment Fund. And 3 positions in Development Services that are going to be funded from the Building Fund.
Mr. Rodriguez, can I have you back up to Parks and Recreation and put on the record how those positions are being funded?
Yes, in Parks and Recreation, there were 5, there were positions that were eliminated, part-time positions, 3 part-time 0.75 positions, it's not full FTEs, and 2 full-time positions were also eliminated. All of these were vacant positions that are being eliminated, and then with those savings, we are funding those 4 positions that Parks is asking to change. And those are all the changes that are being proposed via these 2 resolutions, and I'm open to any questions or discussion from the board.
Any questions of staff on these particular items?
Okay,
Thank you.
I will now turn over the presentation to City Administrator Faye Johnson for Ordinance 5102-24.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. As I indicated, I will present the last component of this item, which is ordinance number 5102-24. This part of the presentation relates to a staff recommendation to adjust the current salaries of the city's elected officials. So I want to start to put this into context. As we always indicate, it requires an ordinance change to adjust the salaries of the mayor and the city commission, and that is established by City Charter, Section 2.02. And while typically by way of practice, we focus on that first part of the charter that assigns the change by ordinance, it also goes on to say that the salaries shall be reviewed during the city's annual budget process. As I look at the verbiage there with shall, that's where we have been remiss from my perspective, of doing as part of our budget review. In my 4-year, now almost 5-year tenure as city administrator, it has not been a normal part of our budget process on an annual basis whereby we reviewed the salaries of the elected officials. Based on research with staff who has a much longer tenure here at the city and been involved with the budget process, that has just not been part of the annual budget process or practice where we reviewed the annual salaries. And as I look at shall, that sort of means that you must do it, not that it's option, but however, that has not been the case heretofore. However, as we move forward, it is part of what we will include in the annual budget process just by way of a review. And that doesn't mean it'll be any changes, but certainly it should be part of the process. So given that, the last salary adjustment for the mayor and the commissioners was back in 2016. At that time, the goal of reviewing the salaries and bringing the salaries more in line was to make the salaries commensurate with the similar strong mayor governments of Orlando, St. Petersburg, and Jacksonville. So the goal was to make it commensurate with, but to not exceed the salaries of those three particular municipalities. They were determined to be the benchmark cities by which we compared our policymakers at that time. Therein was the increase of the salaries back then, which are still held today. The mayor's salary was increased from the $125,000 to its current salary of $150,000. And as it relates to the commissioner's salary, it was increased from the $30,000 to the $35,000 to where it is today. When we look back at what those benchmark cities have done during that 8-year period, based on the data that we found, on average, their salaries have increased between 24% and 42% since 2016. As I have mentioned starting out, we have not looked at our elected official salaries. Therein, there have been no adjustments by way of a market adjustment or a cost of living adjustment to the salaries of the mayor and commission since 2016. So if you just think about that, if we were using the benchmark salaries, we are significantly lagging in terms of meeting the goal to stay on par with those municipalities. So again, looking at the charter, as I look at shall, that means that it is something that should not be option. It is something that we should do. Hence, moving forward, we will make it a part of our annual budget process. So I want to just kind of put into context what the city's annual budget process focuses on, and as it relates to salary, and that has been the salaries of employees. We review salaries every fiscal year as part of the budget process. There is a personnel category in each department's budget for each employee group, and we review that on an annual basis to determine primarily cost of living adjustment. If we are in the process of negotiations, we review that in terms of potentially a market adjustment. I do want to kind of just walk through the three broad categories. When we look at public safety, combined police and fire, using fiscal year 2016 as that benchmark period, the salaries for public and safety employees have increased between, on average, 40 to 59%. That includes their annual step pay. When we look at what was done in FY21, this board established as a priority that we needed to bring public safety from the low market placement, which had been our legacy historically, to bring them to a higher market placement. So we were not able to do that in fiscal year 21 because we were suffering from the effects of COVID-19, dealing with a $7 million general fund budget loss, as well as a $4 million restructuring of our budget. So we entered into 3-year contracts starting with fiscal year 22. We were able to meet the mayor and board's priority by providing historic market adjustments. When we look at non-public safety employees, they were on a different contractual basis because of the gap year. But on average, looking from FY16, those salaries have increased approximately 46%. By way of breakdown, and I broke this down just so that it doesn't get lost in translation. Between FY16 and FY21, we were providing the standard 3% cost of living adjustments for that group of employees, or all employees outside of public safety. Again, with the priority that the board placed with raising salaries from that low legacy market placement, we began to provide 5% cost of living adjustments, which was historic for our city. We did that for those 3 years, this year being included. And then as part of the new contract for PMSA SEIU, we provided historic market adjustments to increase our placement in the market to help with retention and recruitment. And then that leaves all other groups. There are a number of employees that are considered to be Management 1 salaries, starting with myself as city administrator, and it goes down to director levels. We cross over and pick up the mayor's professional direct reports and include them in that group and treat them similarly to directors and administrators. On average, the salaries for Management 1 has increased 24%. Again, I want to underscore FY16 through FY21, we were providing the traditional 3% cost of living adjustments. In FY22, again, in compliance with the board's priority to maintain higher salary levels to raise up the market placement, we treat all employees the same when it comes to cost of living adjustments. So wherein Management 1 employees did not receive a market adjustment, they did, however, receive the 5% COLA, which was historic. We had not done that before. So I want to take a moment to kind of put into context how we got from the balanced budget of FY24 to come into the board behind the budget process and having you to consider the proposal that is before you for adjustment of the salaries. We have a very, very tight window by which we actually bring the proposed budget to the board. The budget process starts back in February of every year, but at the point that it is presented to the board, and it's presented in different iterations, it starts in July. So as it relates to FY24, at the July 17, 2023 work session, I presented the proposed FY24 balanced budget. We started this process 2 years ago, wherein at the very first point that we present a proposed budget to the board, it is balanced. We're no longer going through iterations where we're out of balance and then we're coming back having a series of meetings, massaging numbers to get the budget in balance. So when you see the budget for the first time in July, when you saw it for the first time, July 17, it was a balanced general fund budget. We had the final values for the property tax revenue. We were beyond July 1st, which is when we get the final values. So when we presented that budget to you back in July 17, we had the final property tax revenue, and that's important to underscore because the proposal to increase the commissioner's salary is not based on property tax revenue, and I don't want that to get lost in translation as we talk about numbers and sources. July 17, the budget was baked for all practical purposes as it relates to property tax revenues and the majority of state share revenue and the other smaller components that make up the general fund. That balanced budget included a millage reduction of 0.0657, which equated to $1 million that we were not going to collect. Moving on, July 20th at the City Commission meeting, the board adopted the not to exceed millage rate, which was the 8.1308. That's important to note in that at that point, the board under statute could not increase the millage. You could lower it, but you could not increase it. So there is no intimation that there was anything that had to do with millage to absorb the proposed salary increase that is before you tonight for your consideration. Moving on into August. And herein is where the challenge was presented in terms of now we got a budget that's already balanced. I'm ready to just present a tentative budget. When we presented the contracts for SEIU, PMSA at the August 21st meeting, as part of the board's comments, discussion came up about the mayor and commissioner's salary. We were past July with a balanced budget. As I indicated to the board at that time, we had a very, very tight window if we were going to try to do anything by way of adjusting elected officials' salary, because we're at that point, we're headed into the budget adoption hearing, a very, very tight window. August 21st, that's when that discussion was held. We get to the August 28th, 2023 work session, and the mayor brought up the desire to bring on a chief marketing officer. The mayor offered a very gracious apology for that being brought up at very late in the budget process. However, the fact of the matter was it was very late in the budget process, again, August 28th. As we move on, at the very tail end of August, maybe a couple of days later, we finally got the final figure from the state on what our state shared revenue would be, and we were fortunate enough that we got the $719,500 more than what was already in the balanced budget, and therein put me in a position to then be able to look at what could be absorbed out of that $719,000 plus, to address the kinds of subsequent items to the balanced budget that the board wanted to see or wanted to have the ability to consider. Just based on doing some back of the envelope calculations, I knew we potentially were going to be impacted with additional operational expenses, so I dialed the majority of the 719 into contingency, that $365,000. That's about 51% of the money. Given the desire for a chief marketing officer position, not knowing where we were going to place that position by grade, I dialed in $192,000 for the salary and benefits and perhaps some other related expenses. That translates to about 27% of the 719. And then with the remainder, I set that aside in the personnel budgets for a potential adjustment at the pleasure of the board. And that's the $162,500, which is about 22% of that additional state shared revenue. For the record, I want to note that state shared revenue is taxes that the state impose on, and it varies from year to year. They may decide that they're going to include certain things like alcohol, cigarette taxes, and share that revenue with municipalities. And then some year they include other sources of state taxes that they will share with municipalities. That's the source of the state shared revenue. Again, it is not from property tax revenue. Moving on, after we were able to put those items in the budget, we were now balanced. The budget was certainly higher than what was initially presented because we had to account for that additional revenue on both revenue and expenditure side. The required September 11th first budget adoption here in the tentative budget, which was balanced, and then we had the second budget adoption hearing on the final budget, which also was balanced, and that's the budget we're operating from today as we speak. So with that, Mayor and the Commissioners, it is my recommendation, after having looked at 3 different proposals here, one for 20%, one for 50%, and then looking at the CPI. My recommendation is that we utilize the 2016 salaries as the benchmarked salaries and adjust those in accordance with the CPI inflation, and I say index, but it's a calculator. Based on the Department of Labor, their CPI inflation calculator, when we took the 150 salary and put that in, it translated into $197,585 with a number of of numbers that trail behind it from an HR standpoint, the recommendation is to round all of those numbers that trail behind the 5 and make it 197,625. So we're rounding it by $40. And for the commissioners, my recommendation is that we take that benchmark $35,000 salary. In today's dollars, it would be $46,103. We had the same situation with all of the decimal points behind it, and this is a back in operational matter. From an HR standpoint, to round that by $9 to $46,112. So again, Mayor, members of the commission, it is my recommendation that we increase or adjust the mayor and commissioner salaries accordingly. The mayor from the $150,000 to $197,625, commissioners from the $35,000 to the $46,112. As part of that recommendation, it includes providing COLAs as we move forward, same as we do for non-union employees, if COLAs are provided. And if the board approves the recommendation on second reading, the ordinance would go into effect. The recommendation would be implemented prospective, not retroactive to October 1, meaning that it would take effect the pay period after second reading with final adoption of the ordinance. Again, the balanced FY24 adopted budget includes in total $162,500. The proposal before you in Ordinance 5102 in totality is for $103,140,000. And with that, Mayor and Commissioners, I will be happy to take questions.
Thank you for that presentation. On the Mayor Commission salary, and obviously this is not a comfortable conversation for any of us on the dais to talk about increasing the salary of those who sit here. However, I don't think it's inappropriate. It was done back in 8 years ago in 2016. And I think that we are in a much better position than we were even then. First, we have looked out for our residents. We have had 2 millage rate reductions in the last 2 years. Second, we've looked out for our employees. First, public safety, and then non-public safety. Each of those categories have received significant market rate adjustments previously. So it is not as if we are ignoring the needs of 2 very important constituencies. First, the residents of our city by having implemented 2 years in a row millage rate reductions, and then secondly, our employees who we gave significant market rate adjustments because we knew, A, we were behind the market, but we needed to attract and retain talent. And the proof is in the pudding. We have been much more competitive in the marketplace by implementing those market rate adjustments. So I am, and also what we're doing here is in effect playing catch up with inflation. This is not a market rate adjustment. We're just trying to looking at what the value of, what today's value is of our 2016 salaries. And you saw the numbers there and you saw the calculation. And I don't think that's unfair to have an increase based upon the impact of inflation. We all in this dais work very hard. And I don't believe, well, there are people who would say if we gave ourselves $1 raise, we don't deserve it. I do believe that we deserve at least to be shielded against the impact of inflation over the last 8 years. So I'm very comfortable with accepting, although I don't vote, with accepting this recommendation. Any comments, questions? Commissioner Ward.
Thank you. When it comes to providing the same COLAs as the non-union employees, I'm assuming that it can be discretionary, given, when I look at this, is we're having great years and we have made fantastic adjustments for our other employees, but when a business is hurting, you pay your people and you as the owner take the hit, and I like to look at us that way as well. So just because we could be potentially included with those COLAs, it doesn't necessarily mean that if times are rough, we can make that decision discretionary when we're adopting the budget process.
That is correct. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's important that we follow what the charter say when it says shall, and we review it as part of the annual budget process. So if in an unfortunate event, we fall on hard times, and then certainly that would guide, my recommendation, to, withhold the COLAs. If we're not giving COLAs to non-management, then certainly I would not be in a position where we then recommend COLAs for the board. And I say that very gently here because, I want to be able to continue to present the budget to the board. But that's a whole nother matter. But that's theoretically how it would work. I mean, you look at where you are financially, and it may be a year where we're not recommending COLAs at all, depending on our financial situation. But certainly if we're in a situation where we can financially, feasibly do so, it would be part of the budget proposal that the board would see in work session, and then we'll get the policy direction.
Commissioner Baduzzi.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I think you hit it right on the head when you said not a market rate, increase. We're not talking about trying to bring these positions, especially the office of mayor, up to where the market would be. Because if you look at the duties of our mayor as a strong mayor here in West Palm Beach, and you compare it to our administrative officers that, at any level, really, $150,000 isn't even close to what our top administrators are making. And the mayor's duties and job certainly should be at those levels, which would be way in excess of $197,625. I mean, it would be more closer probably to $250,000 or even approaching $300,000 if you consider the job responsibilities and duties. This wasn't the first proposal brought to us. There was other proposals that were brought to us that were called for much higher increases, and I think collectively everyone probably privately said to the administration, we're not comfortable with those large increases. But this is really just keeping up with the cost of living from 2016, and I think it's reasonable. Thank you.
If I could just add, a footnote. I note the comment about the mayor, his salary as it relates to administrative salary, and I agree, but I want to clarify for the record that a proposal was not brought to the board before. I ran a number of calculations and I had individual discussions with the board so that you all could be aware of what I was looking at. I ran a calculation at 100% increase, a 50%, a 40 or 30. I ran a number of scenarios. So just for the record, that was what Commissioner Peduzzi is referring to. So I have not yet presented a proposal to the board for consideration. This is the first time, but I have had individual discussions.
I stand corrected. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, Commissioner Ward? I'm sorry, Commissioner Warren, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm actually going to disagree with you, Madam Administrator. If you'll turn back to slide 12.
And I take no homage for disagreement. That's growth. Yes.
On this slide, you said that you were remiss. And I disagree, because I don't feel that the mayor and commission salaries were the priority at that particular time. And how long have you been the administrator?
4 years
Four.
now.
And I've been on the commission for 3. And I know that we've had a lot of conversations about, the things that have actually taken place, which included the adjusting and negotiating for the appropriate salaries and moving in the right direction for our first responders. And then reviewing and doing everything that we could possibly do to attract and retain the best employees, taking into consideration work-life balance of the employees of the city. The commission working to reduce the millage rate. There were so many things that were priorities that I don't feel that this was necessarily a remission or a failure to act appropriately. And when you grow up in a household that doesn't have an abundance of things, I remember that my mother ate last, right? She made sure that everyone in the household, everyone that was there, had all of the things that they needed in order to be successful. And I believe that that is what you and the administration and the team, HR, everyone has worked to do, and recognizing where we have stood and making the necessary, very tough changes to ensure that there was a balanced budget while preserving people's right to have work-life balance, while preserving the community's public safety. I think that those things were priorities. So I don't, again, agree with that you were remiss, and I believe that now is the time, and looking at where we are as a city and how we are poised and all of the decisions that have made in this progressive community to continue to move West Palm Beach forward, that this is an appropriate conversation to have at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Warren, and I appreciate that, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. When I say I was remiss, I mean it from this perspective. I had not taken the time with everything else that we have had to deal with in the 4 years of my tenure to actually read the ordinance language for myself. I have had a number of the staff to tell me in every conversation that has come up about the board salary that it has to be adjusted by ordinance. Had I read this language for myself in the midst of everything else that was on my plate, I can assure you I would have been up late at night, including a review of the board salary. So from that perspective, I say I have been remiss because I did not take it upon myself to read the language for myself, which I typically do with everything.
And as it says shall, and to President Ward's point, shall does not mean that it is automatic. Shall means that it shall be reviewed and acted upon according, or recommendations made according to where the city stands at that particular point in time.
Correct.
Any other questions, comments on this item? Commissioner Fox?
Thank you so much. I'm wondering if you can tell us if there's any reason why the commission, the mayor and commission haven't received COLAs in the past. I am doing the math, on 8 years ago, if we had been receiving 3 to 5%, I guess, each year, the math would have been basically exactly where we are today in what the numbers you're presenting. But I think it would have been much more palatable to the residents and the public rather than seeing these large lump sums. So I'm just curious if there was any reason that you know of in the past that we couldn't have just been doing that. I think going forward, it certainly makes a lot more sense to just be receiving the same COLAs that the rest of the city is receiving, and then we don't get to a spot where 8 or 10 years go by and salaries haven't been adjusted. But I wasn't sure if it was just there was any reason in particular, or just it was oversight on, or any other reasons you might know.
Factually, in terms of my tenure, it was just not part of our budget review process. Again, up until having read this language for myself, which was very recently, I did not have a mindset that as part of the city's annual budget review, we review the mayor and commissioner's salary. Having done so, and talking with staff who has a much longer tenure and have been involved with the board's budget, with the city's budget process, it has just not been the practice of the city to review the commissioner's salary as part of the annual budget process, although it's clearly spelled out in the ordinance. Now, could it have been done? Absolutely. And moving forward, it will be done. So I don't think that there was, any directive to indicate to not do it. I think it just was not part of the annual budget process, and so it was missed.
And having, I guess I'm the one up here with the longest tenure, 8 years as a commissioner. Even back in 2008 2018.
2016?
2016, when we last got a raise, no one pointed to this language even then. So it just wasn't something that was focused on by even prior administrations, prior city managers, prior mayors, for whatever reason. And although it says it shall be reviewed, again, I agree that doesn't mean it will have to be increased, but it shall be reviewed, at least have the conversation. And that is in there, in our charter, but we just haven't followed it. President Ward.
I just want to say one more thing, just because we're on the topic of budget, and I think I said this in a workshop before we get into the upcoming months and the weeds of the budget. Being an active resident before that and now being in it, how long this budget process and how much work you guys do, how much work Bridget does to just get us all organized and all of these different wants and needs. And I look forward again to working to make sure that we stay competitive. Our police work so hard, and all of the things that we do, we're not like other cities even close by with how many responses. Our fire, how many responses you guys, even just in the different firehouses up in the north end. And I mean, the work you guys put in, our department directors, and I look forward to really looking at those numbers and making sure that they're going to continue to be competitive, because we want our hardworking staff to stay here long and work hard for our residents and show them that we appreciate them. So thank you.
Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you. Administrator Johnson, I just want to say thank you. Clearly, you've done a yeoman's amount of work to prepare for this and to get us some factual information so that we can compare and be prepared. I really focused on what you shared about making sure that our employees have been taken care of, as the mayor mentioned, that our taxpayers and our residents and our stakeholders in the city have been taken care of. But as an HR professional in my day job, one of the things that's really important to me and to my employees is not just when we recruit new employees, making sure that we have competitive salaries, but the retention of our employees as well. And I know I see many of them in the room today, and I just appreciate the effort that we've taken, but want to make sure that we continue to look at those as we move forward in the budgeting process, so that we're retaining the great staff that we have, as well as recruiting and being attractive to others. I know that as it was mentioned, talking about salaries is never easy, especially when it's our own. But I appreciate that we're looking into the future of what this city is going to be and where we've come from. And I want to make sure that we're not only competitive, but compassionate, and making sure that, again, we prioritize our staff, our residents, as we consider these options today. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Fox?
Thank you. I just want to mention that I know that we'll have a second reading of this ordinance, and I haven't really had a chance to talk to residents about this issue, and I'm sure that we'll hear from them. But should it pass tonight, I just want to mention that I'm happy to hear any comments that should come forward in the next 2 weeks. Thanks.
Well, I think we all are. I don't know if you have a choice of not hearing them. They will let us know what their opinion is. But I hope you're not looking to do an opinion poll, per se. Some decisions just have to be made based upon data and not public opinion. That's my view. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I approve resolution number 101-24 and resolution number 105-24F.
And let's do the resolution separately. Vote on the resolution separately, then we'll get to the ordinance. It's been moved on. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, that motion passes unanimously. Is there another motion?
Yes, if I could stop coughing. Mayor, I move approve ordinance number 5102-24 on first reading and schedule second reading for May 28th, 2024.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5102-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, establishing the annual salary of the mayor and the commissioners pursuant to Section 2.02 of the Charter of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, repealing ordinance number 4610-16, providing for conflicts and severability clauses, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. We will now turn to the quasi-judicial portion of our meeting. So, commissioners, I need you to make your disclosures, please. And who looks like they're ready? President Ward is ready.
Got you. As to matters 10.1 and 10.2, I have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, have not received expert opinions. As to matter 10.3, I have had ex parte communications with a representative of the applicant. I have not received any written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you. Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you. As to item 10.1, I have had ex parte communications with the applicant and representatives. I have not received written communications, not conducted an investigation. I have made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. As to items 10.2 and 10.3, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation, nor have I made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Commissioner Peduzzi.
Thank you. As to item 10.1, I have had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, nor have I received any expert opinions. As to items 10.2 and 10.3, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, nor have I received any expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made a part of the record.
Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. As to items 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3, I have not had ex parte communications, not received written communications, not conducted an investigation, not made a site visit, not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Commissioner Fox.
As to this matter, items 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Very good. Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you swear in all witnesses, please?
Would everyone wishing to speak on items 10.1 through 10.3 please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Item 10.1, public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 5097-24 regarding a rezoning of plus or minus 1.65 acres located at 1150 Southern Boulevard from Recreation and Open Space, ROS, to a Recreation and Open Space Plan Development, ROSPD, and public hearing of resolution number 86-24 regarding the development regulations and conditions for the recreation and open space plan development and the granting of waivers from the zoning and land development regulations. The above referenced requests are being made by Roxanne Reed of WGI on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club of Palm Beach County to allow for the construction of 2 buildings, an outdoor playground, and an outdoor classroom. Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you, Mayor. I need to recuse myself from this item due to a voting conflict.
All right, very good.
All right, good day, Mayor, Commissioners. Jermaine Swaby, Planning and Zoning Senior Planner for the record. There has been no changes since the first reading. Also, the resolution is to be approved as part of the second reading.
Very good. Any questions, comments on this item? We don't have any cards. All right. I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 5097-24 at second reading to change the zoning designation of plus or minus 1.65 acres located within Dreher Park at 1150 Southern Boulevard from recreational open space to recreation and open space plan development. This motion is based upon the application submitted, the staff report, factual testimony, the recommendation of the planning board, and the findings that the request complies with the comprehensive plan and the standards in section 94-232, 9435C, 94204, and 94207 of the city zoning and land development regulations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5097-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending the zoning map of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida by rezoning plus or minus 1.65 acres located within Dreher Park at 1150 Southern Boulevard from Recreation and Open Space, ROS, to Recreation and Open Space Plan Development, ROSPD, to create the Boys and Girls Club Recreation and Open Space Plan Development, ROSPD, providing for the establishment of development regulations by separate resolution, declaring this zoning map amendment to be consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city, revising the zoning map of the city accordingly, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously with the exception of Commissioner Lambert, who recused herself. Is there another motion?
Yes, Mayor, I approve resolution number 86-24, establishing development regulations and conditions for the recreation open space plan development and granting waivers from the zoning and land development regulations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously with the exception of Commissioner Lambert, who recused herself. Okay. Thank you. Item 10.2, public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 5096-24 regarding a rezoning to change the zoning designation of approximately plus or minus 11.02 acres located at 3801 Georgia Avenue from multifamily high density, MF32, residential to residential plan development, RPD, and public hearing of resolution number 70-24 regarding the development regulations and conditions for the Roseland Gardens Residential Plan Development, RPD, and granting of waivers to the zoning and land development regulations. The above referenced requests are being made by Josh Nichols of Schmidt Nichols on behalf of West Palm Beach Housing Authority.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Alex Sanglier, planner for the record. One minor change was implemented in the resolution regarding the 37 shade trees. They will be in the condition they will be provided in addition to the shade trees in phase 2 of the development.
Very good. Any questions, comments, commissioners? All right, any cards?
No, so, Mr. Mayor.
All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 5096-24 at second reading for a rezoning to change the zoning designation of approximately plus or minus 11.02 acres located at 3801 Georgia Avenue from multifamily high-density MF32 residential to residential plan development RPD. This motion is based upon the application submitted, the staff report, the factual testimony, the recommendation of the planning board, and the finding that the request complies with the comprehensive plan and the standards in section 94-32 and section 94-207 of the city's zoning and land development regulations.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and second. Discussion?
Yep, sorry.
Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5096-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending the zoning map of the City of West Palm Beach by rezoning plus or minus 11.02 acres located at 3801 Georgia Avenue from multifamily high-density residential to residential plan development to create the Roseland Gardens residential plan development, providing for an establishment of development regulations by separate resolution, declaring the zoning map amendment to be consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city, revising the zoning map of the city accordingly, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Is there another motion?
Yes, I move to approve resolution number 70-24 at first reading to establish the development regulations, including the site and landscape plans and building elevations for the Roseland Garden Residential Plan Development, RPD, located at 3801 Georgia Avenue. This motion is based upon the factual testimony presented, the application submitted, the staff report, the recommendation of the planning board, and the findings that the amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan and complies with the standards found in Section 94-32, Section 94-35, and Section 94-207 of the city's zoning and land development regulations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 10.3, public hearing of resolution number 88-24 regarding a major amendment to the Palm Beach Riverstone Commercial Plan Development located at the southeast corner of 45th Street, Interstate 95, to amend the approved hotel site plan on Pod 2, providing for the increase in the number of hotel rooms from 150 rooms to 233 rooms, 7,633 square feet of restaurant use, and a new 4-story parking garage structure.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. For the record, Roger Ramdeen. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I'm at the Office of Schutz and Bowen. Like you stated, Mr. Mayor, the request before you tonight is for a major amendment to a planned development. It's the Palm Beach Riverstone. This planned development is located at the southeast corner of 45th Street and I-95, shown on the slide. A little background about the site. It is a planned development that was approved for 3 pods. Pod 1 would be for the Wawa, which is constructed. Pod 3, which was for an apartment residential building, which has also been constructed. And Pod 2, which is for a full-service hotel. We are here before you today to now build the hotel on Pod 2, but as part of that request, we're expanding a bit by adding 8 stories, by adding 83 rooms, expanding on the restaurant, and instead of surface parking, we're now providing a 4-level parking garage. As part of the project, we do have 5 waivers before you tonight. The first is the reduction in the side setback along the north and south property lines. So these property lines are adjacent, internal to the planned development, adjacent to the Wawa pod and the apartment pod. Built-in separation between the parking garage, which is the 4-level parking garage on the pod itself, the hotel pod, and the actual hotel. Required parking, we're also seeking a reduction because we do have that option as far as a planned development to seek a waiver to reduce the required parking, and we do ask for that. We have some existing light poles on the site that we're seeking to keep where they are, along with some new light poles that would be in a landscape buffer. These are very small light poles, maybe a 1 square foot footprint within the landscape buffer, and there are 9 of those. And a reduction in the number of loading zones for the hotel. We currently do not have a need for semi-trucks to go on the site to serve the hotel. This was previously approved for the prior hotel. We're just seeking the same waiver again. To go over the overall PD integration, as you can see from this slide, the multifamily and the Wawa site are constructed, and we have horizontal integration throughout the entire site. As far as the uses are concerned, as stated before, we do have the Wawa on the 45th Street frontage, the hotel, and the apartment building, which all intermingle. Uses are intermingled along with the Wawa. Patrons can go to the hotel patrons can go to the Wawa convenience store, and the multifamily residents can also go to the Wawa. So there is some intermingling of the uses there. As far as it relates to the actual site plan for the hotel, the Concord Group did a study for the hotel, a use study, and it was discovered that it is located in a growth and hospitality performance area where it's regionally accessible, and it's an area of high concentration of jobs and employment growth. We're also increasing the restaurant space within the hotel to better serve the residents at the apartment as well as the general public. This is just a rendering of the hotel, showing it from the 45th Street corridor. And the second rendering is a view from the I-95. We are required to demonstrate compliance with the standards in the code. Specifically, it's section 9432A, and we believe that we comply with all the standards. Staff concurs, and we did receive a unanimous approval from the planning board on the request. With that, we do respect the request, an approval from you tonight for our major PD amendment, and I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Any questions of the applicant before we hear from staff? President Ward.
Thank you very much. And just as an aside, I've been to the apartment complex, and it's fantastically built, and it's a great addition to that area, and everybody in that area loves the Wawa and their sandwiches. But, given the increase in traffic, I was just curious what you guys have done to review the traffic issues that are on 45th, given I know this isn't necessarily density, but they're adding bodies into and from that area.
So I'm nowhere near qualified to talk on traffic topics. So we do have our traffic engineer here, and he can speak to that.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Kevin Chapania with McKenzie Engineering and Planning, and we are the traffic consultants on the project. We did receive Palm Beach County TPS letter for in acceptance of generally acceptance engineering standards, and our traffic impact analysis does work in the post-development condition with the project, with the FDOT's committed divergent diamond interchange, which extends from I-95 West to Congress Avenue. In addition to that, Congress Avenue does work with a third eastbound left and a third northbound left. So yes, the project does work with FDOT's committed project.
Follow up? Any other questions for the applicant before we hear from staff? Okay, thank you. Staff?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Linda Louie, Principal Planner for the record. There's nothing more for me to add except that staff is recommending approval of Resolution 8824, as staff has found that the amendment does comply with the amendment standards of our zoning code. If there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them at this time.
Very good, thank you. Any questions of staff before? Okay, if there are no other questions, I will certainly entertain a motion.
Mayor, move approval of resolution number 88-24, which will approve the major amendment to the plan Palm Beach Riverstone Commercial Plan Development, generally located at the southeast corner of 45th Street and Interstate 95, to modify the approved site plan for the hotel use on Pod 2 to provide for the construction of a 16-story hotel with a 4-story parking garage structure and other site-related improvements with the waivers specified in the resolution. This motion is based upon the factual testimony presented, the application submitted, the staff report, the recommendation of the planning board, and the findings that the amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan and complies with the standards found in section 94-32 and 94-35 of the city's zoning and land development regulations.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain no. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, that is the last item. We'll now turn to public comment from, comment from the public. I have a few cards here. As I read your name out, if you could begin approaching the podium. Aaron Clemens, Michael Cleveland, Rick Rose, and IVP Wallace. Mr. Clemens?
Aaron Clemens, 1801 North Flagler Drive, 33407, West Palm Beach, Florida. Good afternoon, good evening, Chamber and Mayor as well, Commissioners. My name is Aaron Clemens, President and founder of SaveATeen.org, nonprofit organization. I just want to update you on a couple things for the public as well, some new programs that we're going to be incorporating and so on, and update the public on what we actually do and so on. So the first program we're working on is raising awareness for parents to adopt teenagers. We have 1,500 teenagers and foster kids in Palm Beach County alone. We have 25,000 in the whole state of Florida that are foster kids that need homes and awareness for. We have 390,000 kids nationwide. It's a nationwide issue all throughout the country. We need to do more about it. Our SaveATeen.org nonprofit is going to be the leader in that as well. We're also incorporating a new plan for the businesses in West Palm Beach for small, medium, and large corporations. Our executive team created a 60-40 program, which means for restaurants, bars, retailers, hotels in the city of West Palm, Palm Beach Island, and Palm Beach County. For example, you have a $100 bar bill, right? Or a $100 restaurant bill, right? That person that's going to ask at the counter or the stand or the customer, right? Would you like to make a donation, $1, $3, or $5 to save a teen, to save the next generation of teens? That's our motto, by the way. And then at the end of each month, the business will be allowed to keep 40% of that donation, and we keep 60%. What that allows that business to do is help them with their processing fees through their POS systems, maybe pay their employees a little bit more, promotes traffic as well through the stores. We're also creating a membership program as well. So for every donor that donates to SaveATeen.org, they will be able to get a percentage off when they go into our sponsor's establishment, which means they'll drive more traffic to increase business revenue for the businesses in West Palm Beach and promote and create revenue for our programs. And I was also adopted on News Channel 5, WPB-TV. We'd also like to bring back a program that was 17 years ago with Jim Sackett. Because I was on that station, I was adopted, right? It's a family that couldn't adopt me, adopted me. They discovered me on WPTV News Channel 5 and changed my life forever. So we want to partner Save a Teen with WPTV News Channel 5 and bring back that segment and partner with the Department of Children and Families and do a collaboration with one company per week and sponsor that kid and interview them so they have an opportunity to get adopted as well. And please, if you want more information, go to www.saveateen.org or email me at aaron.saveateen@gmail.com. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Mayor Keith James, for listening, and hopefully we have your support in the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Michael Cleveland.
Good evening again. Yes, I'm here this time, Mayor. Last time I had a bathroom emergency. Came back in, you was conducting other businesses. I think you disrespected me on that issue, Mayor, but you control the chamber. I want to thank the staff. Recently, the family had a crisis in which they assisted us in getting my late sister buried. Our family wishes to thank them very much. Staff member Thomas and staff member Edwards. Appreciate that very much. I want to speak about basketball courts on the city parks. My understanding you're no longer having them built or you're trying to get rid of them or replace them with pickleball. That might be a grave mistake, but there again, the city does what the city wants to do. For the love of money, it's the root of all evil. I'm a firm believer in salary paid is salary earned. Mayor, your voice got pretty strong when they mentioned money. Well, I don't blame you. Most people love money as well. Excuse me. It's sad that Mrs. Clark was recognized here this evening after her long fight through the community for years trying to get things done in Pleasant City, me as well. It's sad people have to be laid to rest before they're recognized. That's sad. Some other businesses I think I want to mention would be well, that's it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Rick Rose.
Good evening, I'm Rick Rose, and I reside at 600 South Dixie Highway in West Palm Beach. And I'm speaking tonight about the Harriet Himmel Theater. I'd like to bring to the City Commission's attention that in the City Place DRI, which is the regulating plan of the City Place development, Section 5B stipulates, and I quote, "The main hall of the historic church, now known as the Harriet Himmel Theater, shall be rehabilitated according to the Secretary of Interior standards and include a cultural use." The current owners have recently submitted plans to the city's planning department for approval to completely remove the staircase to the main entrance of the church, which, as you know, is on the second floor. That would mean that the front entrance doors of the church would be floating up in the middle of the building as a type of windows, I guess. I'd like to remind you that about 30 years ago, that entire downtown area was bulldozed with the exception of one building, which was the building that we now know as the Harriet Theater. Millions of dollars were raised, both public and private, to save this iconic structure, arguably one of the most historically significant structures in all of West Palm Beach, both for its cultural historical significance, but also as one of the city's most pristine examples of Mediterranean revival architecture, for which we are so famous here in West Palm Beach. As a result of this request by the owner, I'm requesting that the Commission intervene and consider a zoning in progress resolution this evening to stop all permitting and construction at the Harriet Himmel Theater because the changes requested by the owner recently are irreversible and would certainly impact the eligibility of the building to be historically designated or to become individually listed on the National Register of Historic Places where it certainly belongs. The resolution could be for 60 days while the City Commission finally debates and decides the fate of this building as to whether it should be historically designated for future generations. And that was certainly the original intent. Whoops, sorry. However, the City Commission neglected to ensure that the city followed through with that intent while the building was still owned by the city. I make this request individually while the Downtown Neighborhood Association conducts a massive community-wide survey to gauge the public interest in historically designating the Harriet. I can report that the initial results show a huge interest in the community about the Harriet, and the vast majority want the City Commission to pursue historic designation for the Harriet, which you should know, of course, that it can only be done by the City Commission. Completely separate from the initiative by the DNA, the Historic Preservation Board recently voted unanimously to ask the city to consider historically designating the building, and I'm asking the commission to step in and stop the bulldozers from rolling while we give the city time to consider the options for historic designation.
Your time is up. Thank you very much. IVP Wallace.
IJP Wallace. First of all, I want to thank Ms. Edwards and her staff for helping my family with the arrangements for my sister being buried this weekend. I don't know what you're all paying her, but you need to pay her more, first of all. Everglades Cemetery. Everglades Cemetery is a historical cemetery where a lot of blacks are buried out there. My great-grandmother and those who was born in Palm Beach, some other people in that area. I'm dissatisfied and disgusted the way it looks out there. Yes, you inherit a graveyard down there with the paperwork and stuff that haven't been found in terms of burial plots out there. And I would say to the city, find a way to get some funds to bring that up to par. I travel nationwide. I see historical graveyards way better than what that one looked like out there. They put the funds in it. Now, and I go out there often. There's an Anglo-Saxon female out there every morning walking her dog in there. She doesn't park on the asphalt, she parks on the grass. I approach her, I said, ma'am, I said, could please not park on the grass. I say, there's some graves out here that's unmarked. Well, the city didn't say nothing about it. Ma'am, I'm not talking about the city, I'm talking about being respect for the grave sites that's out there. She constantly do it. Went out there one time, she said, so I followed the car to get the tag number. I guess it was the husband came in an F-150 Ford truck. He parked on the grass. I said, sir, please don't do that. I explained the same thing to him. They said the city don't have a problem with it. I asked years ago, about 20 years ago, for them to put some cameras out there, because not only that's happening, I've seen drug furnayers out there, I've seen condoms out there, liquor ball, women folks' underwear out there. I saw some males out there on their skateboards, some little boys out there doing tricks on the top of the thing. Okay, I know it's in a remote area back there, but a camera will show people out there doing negative stuff out there. I guarantee it doesn't happen down there on Dixie. And I compare Dixie, what that look like, as opposed to what there. Come on, people. Need a ground penetrating system to find those graves and mark where. There's a whole lot of graves out there, sites out there not graves in it. I have a sister and a brother that's out there. I know approximately where the sister and the brother is, but it's unmarked. Okay, please do something about it. And I'm looking at on the south, you got Northwest Historical Site, signs here, there. They don't tore down everything that's historic. What you gonna show the people? Okay? Palm Beach Lake Boulevard and Sapodilla, those historical buildings, that Fluent, et cetera, it's gone. What you gonna show the people that's historic in that area?
Thank you very much.
Raise her salary, not her arm.
Thank you. We will now turn to comments from members of the dais. We will begin with President Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for the public comments tonight. I've brought up that cemetery a couple of times, and I hope that we can find some funds. I know there was a grant at the state level, but it definitely deserves our attention, and there's some wonderful history and people who serve this country that lie in that area, and it should be just celebrated as such. I wanted to, in line with one of the proclamations you made today, Mayor, congratulate the Center for Child Counseling for opening their newest location at the UB Kinsey Community Center in the historic Northwest neighborhood. This organization provides mental health services to over 7,000 children across Palm Beach County. CFCC has created a data dashboard to direct community resources to where they're most needed. And with this data-driven care is helping to mitigate the youth mental health crisis. And I encourage all of my colleagues to meet with CFCC and learn more about the work they're doing. And it's cutting edge, and I'm very grateful that they chose that area to open their new location. We have a fun event in Northwood coming up on June 14th, the Nights in Northwood Village. We don't have the monthly event anymore. It's moved to more of a quarterly, hopefully it'll be a quarterly event, and this one will be June 14th from 6 to 9 in Northwood Village on Northwood Road. I hope all of you can attend, and as a reminder, West Palm Beach PD is hosting another push event on Friday, May 17th at 8 on Tamron Avenue between 6th and 7th. And then finally, Project Uplift is a community cleanup hosted by the Kappa Epsilon chapter of Omega Phi Psi fraternity in conjunction with the city. And they'll be doing another one on Saturday, May 25th. At 3701 Broadway Avenue. Parents must sign a liability waiver for students under the age of 18, but they've been getting a great turnout and doing great work throughout the east area of our city. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you. I wanted to take a moment and recognize that at the beginning of our commission meeting that you declared it National Public Works Week, and just thank all of our Public Works Department and employees. That is truly, what keeps our city moving and going, and it's probably one of the areas that affects our residents the most, and we just thank every single one of them for their hard work, and they are often the ones still working before, during, and after hurricanes, and I'm just so grateful for all of them. Last week, myself and Commissioner Fox and DDA Executive Director Rafael Clemente led a group on Palmtran to kind of encourage people to check out the bus and to see how clean, cool, as in good air conditioning, and convenient the buses are to ride. So it was a resounding success. I think we had nearly 20 guests join us, even our littlest one joining me in her little papoose, having a good time on the bus. And it was a great success, just showing how easy and convenient it is to get around our city via Palmtran. And I had a moment to talk to some of the staff of Palmtran because one of the issues that I've heard brought up by our residents who want to take Palmtran is the lack of shade structures. And I was glad to hear that funding and plans are in the work for additional shade so that when we're waiting, whether it's shade from the sun or from the elements, whether it's raining or bad weather, that you can still be secure there. And then finally, Mayor, just want to say congratulations on the Housing Hero Award. That was just a great opportunity to celebrate everything that this city has done under your leadership to set goals, surpass those goals, and to set new goals for workforce and affordable housing in our city. And I know that that is one of the key elements of ensuring that there's housing for everyone and tackling homelessness. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baduzzi?
Thank you, Mayor. Regarding the cemetery, my family and I actually happened upon that cemetery by accident several years ago. And I was really surprised. I was like, what is this? And we pulled over and we walked through. And we were really amazed at the history there and also the lack of upkeep. So I think that it's an important part of our city and certainly it should be preserved. Otherwise, in light of our item this evening addressing salaries, I just wanted to echo the comments of some of my colleagues with regard to making sure that we remain competitive in the market for all of our city positions and that we can ensure that top talent is retained and recruited, which I think is very important. In particularly true for our public safety employees. You know, there was a recent article in the Palm Beach Post, I believe it was yesterday or today, that talked about salaries of our police officers in particular. And I know it's a dynamic thing. The salaries are always changing in our region, and so it's tough to keep up because as soon as we're number 2 in the region, we're number 6 in the region or 8 in the region because everyone's jockeying for those positions to retain and recruit the best employees. So I just think that we always need to be cognizant of the fact that things are changing, they're dynamic, and we need to make sure that we still can recruit and retain top talent because we are one of the more difficult places to work in Palm Beach County. If you talk about young, eager police officers or firefighters, they come to West Palm Beach, at least initially, to see the action. And, you know, we have a real diversity of cases, whether it be, you know, law enforcement or EMS and fire. There's a lot going on in the city, and we have the most, you know, the largest population of the city. And there's only so far that goes because that newness and wanting to see the excitement does wear off at some point, and you need to make sure that the money is there to retain the top talent. So we just have to be cognizant of that and realize that we have some great individuals working for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to mention again that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we should always dial 911 first for emergencies, but there are some other resources that are available. Dialing 9888 for immediate support for suicide and crisis hotline and substance abuse, mental health, and substance abuse disorders. NAMI is available via text by texting 741-741. You can connect to a crisis counselor. And also by dialing 211, but again, dial 911 first for emergencies. May is also Jewish American Heritage Month. This month-long celebration is an opportunity to honor the accomplishments and contributions of Jewish Americans since their arrival in the 17th century. In April 2006, President George W. Bush proclaimed that May would be celebrated as Jewish American Heritage Month. Florida celebrates its own Jewish History Month in January. And I would like to bring attention to District 2 business, doing a business spotlight for the greenhouse located at 721 Village Boulevard, Suite 107E in West Palm Beach. They offer handcrafted milk and fruit teas, as well as Korean corn dogs, appetizers, Vietnamese pho, rice plates, noodle bowls, and vegan options are also available. So please make sure that you stop by and support one of our amazing small businesses. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Fox.
Thank you. I also wanted to say thank you to the Public Works Department. I think everyone's gone right now, but I am so happy to always work with them. Leon Pinder, when he comes to our meetings, he gets the cheers of the hometown hero, and I just continue to thank them for their hard work. I wanted to say congratulations to President Ward for your nomination as Young Professional of the Year with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm sorry that I'm going to miss the event this week, but I will be rooting for you from afar. I wanted to say thank you to Rick for coming tonight and for continuing to advocate for our historic properties. I don't know if there's someone on city staff that I could talk to get more of the background. I know that what I'm hearing from the people like Rick and the DNA and also in the Post and from, I think, the related point of view, but what I haven't really heard much about is the contract that we have on the space. I'd like to understand better what our responsibilities are or our opportunities to work with the owners on moving forward with that and just understanding better what they have in mind. For one, I'm very excited about the investment that has been made in the downtown because of Related, but I also am hearing concerns from quite a few residents about the future of not just the Harriet, but other historic buildings in the city that, I want to make sure that we are up to date on which ones haven't been preserved and what opportunities we might have in the future. So if there's someone I could talk to in the next week, that would be great. And I just wanted to also mention, I'm excited next week I will be traveling with the TPA to the Netherlands. We will be hosted by the Dutch Cycling Embassy. We will be going to The Hague and to Rotterdam and to other places to learn more about their biking and pedestrian infrastructure. So I look forward to learning more and bringing back things to share with this group. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, I'll have the city attorney reach out to you to discuss any questions that you may have. Thank you, Commissioner Lambert, and thanks to all the commissioners for attending the second annual Housing Heroes Award luncheon held last Wednesday. I was truly honored to receive the Housing Hero Award, but as I said in my speech, it really is a team effort. Clearly, we could not have achieved what we have done as a city without the cooperation of each of you on this dais. So it is a team effort. The 2023 State of Affordable and Workforce Housing Report, we saw some of the data presented at that meeting, and it was very clear how forward-thinking West Palm Beach has been. We have put up more affordable housing units by a factor of 2 over the other nearest city. And again, that's the efforts of city staff coming to us with some out-of-the-box thinking on the types of incentives we could build in. It's HCD, legal, and it is truly a team effort. And then it's the willingness of each of you up here to move in that direction and accept that as a priority of the city. But some of the statistics that were shared, West Palm Beach had 302 units actually completed, another 223 under construction, and 289 in pre-development. I announced that in my acceptance speech that I am challenging our city to do another 800 units in the next, before the end of my second and last term, which will give us 1,400 total in 2 terms, in my 2 terms as mayor, which is more than any other mayor has done. And I believe that we as a city are equal to that challenge. Although when I did sit back down at my seat, there were several members of, I was at a table including several members of the staff, and it was suggested to me by someone whose name I would not mention that I should quit making goals. So anyway, that may be my last, no, it ain't gonna be my last goal. But anyway, we did that. But it was truly an honor, but I'm most proud of the position that West Palm Beach has taken. You know, the statistics, like we had with West Palm Beach, one of 100 cities in the world to participate in the Youth Challenge. Those things don't happen by accident. And again, it is because of our collaborative effort working together to make this what I often say is a community of opportunity for all. I also want to take a second to recognize and congratulate many members of the West Palm Beach Fire Department for their achievement last week at the Palm Beach State Invitational. The results of their training and dedication to the profession were on full display. Several members of the fire department participated in various firefighting, tech rescue, and EMS competitions. Dozens of South Florida departments and hundreds of firefighters and paramedics participating in the events. The competition was fierce, but the West Palm Beach Fire Department reigned supreme. The department participated in 4 competitions in which all the West Palm Beach Fire Department members placed in the top 10, and our city firefighters took first place in the technical rope rescue competition. So I'd like to recognize all the amazing members of the specialized teams and Fire Chief Maddie, I don't think she's here anymore, for cultivating a healthy and fit fire department. They make us all proud and continue to make our city the home of champions. In preparation for hurricane season, the city will host a hurricane field exercise on Thursday, May 23rd, starting at 8 a.m. Participating departments will include Public Works, Parks and Recreation, and Public Utilities to practice hurricane recovery procedures. During the simulation, participants will be tasked with responding to mock hurricane disaster scenarios, which include medical response, communication strategies, and coordination of resources. The simulation is representative of some of the challenges that would arise during a real-life hurricane disaster, including power outages, flooding, and injuries. In addition to this exercise, the city will also hold a hurricane tabletop practice drill at our EOC on Tuesday, May 28th. The West Palm Beach Police Department is hosting their West Palm Beach Police Department Police Memorial on May 22nd at 7:30 p.m. at the Lake Pavilion. All are invited. And another feather in our cap, in celebration of the National League of Cities 100th anniversary, the National League of Cities has launched an NLC Centennial Roadshow, 100 Years, 100 Cities, which is a year-long initiative to commemorate the organization's legacy. As part of that initiative, the National League of Cities will visit 100 cities in person and virtually to spotlight the diverse narratives of municipalities nationwide and honor local government's contributions to their residents. I'm proud to say the National League of Cities has chosen West Palm Beach as one of its in-person locations. So we'll be holding a special city commission meeting on next Monday, May 20th. And again, they're only going to 100 cities around the country. So it is truly an honor for West Palm Beach to be considered. Mother's Day was yesterday. I hope all the mothers out there, and certainly all the mothers up here, including any dog mothers, had a very special day. Memorial Day is Monday, May 27th, and City Hall and the Mandel Public Library will be closed in observance. Our next regular City Commission meeting will be on Tuesday, May 28th at 5 p.m. And I do have staff looking into the state of Evergreen. I'm supposed to get an initial report tomorrow, and so I will be working with them to see what we can do to accelerate the upgrade of that cemetery. And that is all I have. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless the great city of West Palm Beach. Good night, all. This meeting is adjourned.